What's up guys, James here. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be responding. It's not a reaction video, it's a response video, I'm calling it. I'm going to be responding to a tweet on Twitter, and I'm actually kind of responding to a response to that tweet on Twitter. Basically what happened was somebody asked a question, somebody else responded to that question with their solution, and I'm going to respond to that solution and show kind of my solution. And I say kind of because my solution isn't possible for this person, and you're going to see why. You're going to see what I'm talking about. So let's just jump in. Here's the question that was asked, okay? Is there a way in Gutenberg to use the styling of another H tag? So for example, using an H2 semantic tag while using H4 for styling. I can manipulate the size after selecting the H tag, but that's not global. So he wants to have an H2 on the page. So semantically, if you look at the HTML, it's an H2, which is important for the structure of your website and for SEO and whatnot. It's important to make sure that you're using the correct heading tags. Okay. You don't just want to be throwing H1, H2, H3, wherever you want. Okay. You got to put a little bit of thought into it. So it's a good question because he wants this particular heading to look like an H4, but he understands that it's important that semantically it be an H2. Okay. And so I'm not going to show you the thread. Somebody provided a simple CSS solution and he rejected it. He said he refuses to learn any code. He's 100% no code. Okay. We'll talk about that later, but for now, we'll move on. So he didn't like that solution. And then Mike Oliver, he's in here somewhere. He replied, if you don't know who Mike is, he is the founder and creator of OllyWP. He shared a little video of his solution. And basically what he did was he added an H2 tag to the website. He clicked on it and he reduced the font size from base to small or whatever. And then he turned it into a component, which it's a good idea, but wasn't really necessary to answer this guy's question. But that's essentially what he did was he created an H1 and then he used the font size selector to reduce it. And then he turned it into components so he could drop this anywhere and it would be an H2 that looks like an H4. And he even added a prop so as a real component, you could drop it somewhere and update what the actual text is, right? So, now maybe ultimately that would solve this guy's problem, but the way he worded it, he specifically says that he wants his H2 to be styled like his H4. So in my mind, that means if sometime in the future he changes the styling of his H4s, he would want this H2 to also change automatically. So let's say he decides to increase the font size of H4 for accessibility reasons or something, he would want the H2 tag to also increase. If he changes the color a little bit on the H4 to improve the contrast, he would want that H2 to also, not every H2, just the specific H2s that he wants to look like H4s, he would want those H2s to also update in the same way as the H4s. Now, watching Mike's solution, I'm almost certain it's not going to work like that. He just created a component that has a prop for text and it's an H1, but he reduced the font size. So I don't see, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're watching this, maybe I'm wrong, but if he were to go and update his H4 styling, I don't think that would update his little component that he made. And why would it? It's just an H1 with the smaller text size. So I don't believe that Mike's solution is actually what this guy is looking for. And I don't think it's Mike's fault. I don't think it's possible. And I think if anybody could do it, it would be Mike, because Mike's based his whole life, maybe not his whole life, but right now his whole career on the block editor. His product is a add-on to the block editor and it adds a bunch of features and stuff to the block editor. So he's very, very familiar with the block editor. So if you have a question about the block editor and Mike can't answer it, it's probably not answerable is what I'm getting at. So if that was Mike's solution to this guy's problem, I don't think it was actually a solution to his problem. I don't think there is a solution to this guy's problem in Gutenberg, and probably not in any page builder. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Elementor has an option where you can click on an H2 and you can say, hey, style this as if it was an H4. Maybe that's an option. I don't know. What I'm going to show you, again, like I said, this is kind of my solution because this is how you would do it if you were building a website properly, but this isn't going to help this guy because this requires 3 characters of CSS, not even lines, 3 characters of CSS. And it's technically not even, you'll see what I'm talking about. I am using a CSS framework, which is a good idea if you're building a website properly. Which framework you use, that's completely up to you. I use one called Automatic CSS, which works with a lot of different builders in WordPress. I, of course, am using Etch in my example. But there's other CSS frameworks. And honestly, this wouldn't be that difficult without a framework either. And the solution that guy provided, and not Mike, but the other guy who provided a CSS solution, that didn't require a framework. And it was a very simple solution. And this guy still rejected it because copying that CSS and pasting it into the custom CSS box on a WordPress website was just too much for this guy. He doesn't want to do any code. He wants to do everything no code. So that solution didn't work for him, even though it was pretty darn simple. But using a framework like this makes it even more simple. And I'm just going to show you, because some of y'all are thinking that you want to use something like Gutenberg because it's going to make building a website easier. It's not. It doesn't. It actually makes it much harder because you either can't do stuff at all, like this example, or you can kind of do it, but it takes a bunch of work and a bunch of clicks. I'm going to show you how incredibly simple this guy's request should be if you're building a website properly. Okay. So here we have just a bunch of headings, H1, H2. You can look at the code, nothing fancy. Haven't even added any classes. I don't know why it does this, but it does. Nothing fancy going on here yet. If you're wondering why this is blue, it's because in my framework, I went to typography, I went to headings, I went to H4, and I said, make it blue. I can do that, save, and now it's back to normal. Okay. So this is one of the benefits of using a framework, is you can do stuff like that very easily. So going back to his question, like I said, I'm assuming he has some styling set up for his H4. He has his H4 styled a certain way. And we're going to do that by just making our H4s blue. All right. Easy peasy. So this is what our H4s look like. They're blue and they are this smaller font size. Here's what our H2 looks like. It's our default blackish color and it's much larger font. And I want my H2 to look like my H4s. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not just going to find out what the font size is of the H4 and add that to the H2 and then find out what color it is and add that. I could do that, but I'm not going to do that. Here's what I'm going to do. Because I'm using a smart CSS framework, all I'm going to do is add the class of H4 to this H2. That's it. I'm done. I just did what that guy wanted to do. Now, you can say that Gutenberg is so simple and you can build all the websites so much faster. No, you can't. You cannot build a website faster with Gutenberg than somebody who knows what they're doing can build it with something like Etch and Automatic CSS. I keep waiting for this. I would love for Kevin Geary to be a part of one of these speed build competitions. Probably not going to happen because Poodle Press, Jamie Marsland, just blocked me and Kevin and probably some other people. So it's probably never going to happen. But I would love to see it happen because I would almost guarantee that he would build these landing pages faster than they would. And the code output is going to be better. And it's going to be more maintainable. You just saw me do what this guy wanted to do. And it took me 3 seconds because I'm using a smart framework that does things properly. You can go watch Mike's solution, which again, isn't even a real solution, and be the judge of yourself. Which of these tools is easier? Oh no, I had to learn the basics of CSS. So I had to know what a class was. So I had to know that I had to go here and type class equals H4. Oh no. That's so much work. That took so much learning. How could I ever get to the point where I could do that? I better just stick with Gutenberg because it's easier and faster. Bro. And let's say, oh, you know what? 6 months later, somebody was looking at the site and decided, you know what? The contrast isn't that great. We need to change the color of those H4s. Okay. I don't know. I don't even know what colors are. It's light blue a color. Light blue is a color. Look at that. I updated the colors for H4 and it automatically updated this H2, which I'm pretty sure is what that guy wanted. He said he wanted his H2s to be styled like his H4s. So I didn't have to update all my H4s and then go find all these H2s and update them as well. This H2 and any other H2 that I give this class of H4 to is always going to look exactly like my H4s. And all I had to do was hit Control Enter, type .h4 and hit Enter. That's all I had to do. And if you seriously want to sit there and tell me that there's a solution out there that's more simple and faster than that, I'm all ears, man. Come at me. Show it to me. I want to see it. I really want to see that. That's it. I think that's it for this video. Again, this is nothing against Mike. I don't think it's actually possible to do what this guy wanted to do. I think what Mike did is the best you could do. I think without using some CSS, that is the closest you could get to accomplishing what this guy wants. The problem is if he ever updates his H4, he's also going to have to go update the component. Now it's nice that it's a component. What that means is that, let's say he has 20 of these H2s all over his website that he has styled to look kind of like his H4s. And then he needs to update the H4s. He can update the H4 styling, and then all he has to do is update the component once, and that will update all the H2s. So that's nice. So that's why Mike made it a component, because it does make it a little easier for him. But that's still an extra step. I don't have to do that with my solution. All I have to do, I come in here, I do whatever I want to my H4, and it automatically applies to that H2. Right? So yeah, my solution is better, it's easier, it's faster. I don't know what else to say. If you're interested in automatic CSS, the last video I did, I think, was I built a landing page using automatic CSS, and I did it because I'm not a grandmaster CSS wizard, okay? Like Kevin Geary, Kevin Powell, all these Kevins in their CSS. I'm not a CSS genius. I am like intermediate, lower middle class when it comes to CSS. And I just wanted to show you that using a framework like automatic CSS can provide a lot of value even to people like me. You don't have to be a crazy power user to get value out of automatic CSS. If you watch the video that I just did, you will see how much faster building out a landing page was using automatic CSS versus, just doing CSS all by yourself or trying to use the style panels or whatever. So much better. It does things like what we saw in that video were auto grid. So if you use grid, auto grid is life-changing in automatic CSS. It just creates automatic responsive grids with like one variable. It's crazy. You get to see the card framework in action. So if you're making cards, it just makes creating cards so much faster. And you get to see buttons. Automatic CSS is fantastic for creating buttons. So you get to see all that. And just those three things, they're simple. They're kind of basic CSS stuff. But if you've ever sat there and styled a card or styled buttons, it takes kind of a lot of time. There's a lot of finagling. And with automatic CSS, it was just like, so definitely check that out. And if you're interested in automatic CSS or Edge, there are affiliate links in the comments or in the description of this video. So I think that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.